Hi, I'm Julia Eckley, and you're watching 5 Questions. Today we got a chance to sit down and talk with actor and director Yitzy Hoppenstein about his upcoming film entitled The Story of a Selfish Bastard, and how he got it into production. So, let's hear what he had to say. Question number 1. How does someone raise money to make a movie?
Well, there are a lot of different ways to make money. I'd say there's like 3 or 4 main ones. You can go to private investors, so they either reject you or accept you privately, and usually they want some sort of equity, and you have to convince them that they're going to make money back. Another option is crowdfunding, which is sort of like a mitzvah with perks, a good deed with perks. You get people to give you money, but you give them something, you know, like a t-shirt or tickets to your party in return, and they don't get equity in your thing, and you have to speak to everybody you've ever met and ask them for help and more. Third option is to take out personal loans. Right off the bat, I don't recommend that at all. It's just difficult, but if that's your only option, you know, do what you got to do. A fourth is, I don't know, maybe you're lucky enough to have a family member that can give you that cheddar, you know what I'm saying? Maybe an uncle or something. And by the way, choosing which one of those depends on the nature of your project. Are you raising $5 for your film, or are you raising $1 million for your film? That also affects things. The way that I did it, I did crowdfunding. There's a lot of different crowdfunding platforms: Indiegogo, Kickstarter, GoFundMe. Kickstarter is the big one, and that's all or nothing. I wrote a film called Entitled The Story of a Selfish Bastard. Spent about 7 months or so researching how to raise money on Kickstarter. I raised money from about 550 people, $35,000. Doctors, lawyers, politicians, actors, writers, dancers, accountants, a lot of accountants for some reason. I'm not sure why. I knew about half of them, and about half of those 550, I don't know where they came from. I don't know who they are. I guess they're connected to friends of friends somehow. Initially, I threw a party. 170 people came to paid entry. We had some music. We had a live DJ. You either raised your full amount in 30 or, you know, up to 60 days, or you don't. My goal was $30,000. If I would have raised $29,999, nobody's credit cards would have been charged, and I wouldn't have gotten a cent. So I raised money from that, and then I used that money to pay for my Kickstarter video, and then made 1 or 2 videos. I knew that they weren't going to be good, so I scrapped them. Finally, I came up with a 3rd video that worked, and that people responded to well. And then I asked every single person like I've ever met, ex-girlfriends, family, friends, people I met at the bus stop. You have to believe that your project is giving something to this world. It's going to do good, and that you're actually doing people, although they're doing you a favor, you're also doing them a favor by bringing this work to fruition.
Question number 2. What are the 3 most important steps that a person must go through in the pre-production process?
Have a great script, as tight as possible. That's the biggest mistake. Everybody's rushing. Your script is your blueprint. If the foundation is flimsy, the entire house that you build is going to collapse. But at the same time, you can't be crazy about it. You know, at some point, you just got to make a movie. So you can't write a script for 20 years. But if you're the one who's actually hiring people, get the right people on board. There's 2 possibilities. Like, everybody wants to be a part of your film, or maybe nobody wants to be a part of your film. If everybody wants to be a part of a film, you got to be very selective and figure out what it is you want. Do you want kind people, even if they're not the most proficient? You just want really outstanding reputations, even if they're very difficult to work with. Ideally, you'd want a nice person with the skills to get things done. And if nobody wants to be a part of your film, you got to figure out, why is that? Why aren't you presenting it in the right way? How do I convey that this is something meaningful, that this is something people want to be a part of, and figure out your sales pitch? Number 3, be persistent. Make a resolution that no matter what obstacles come in your way, you will overcome them, you will get around them, and you will reach your goal. Every single step in the filmmaking process. It's exhausting and it's painful, and the obstacles are crazy. There's a reason why everybody tells you, oh, don't become an actor, it's not going to be good for you. Don't become a writer or a director. It's just not possible. There's a reason for that. It's just there's so many challenges, and you have to actually say to yourself, I will not give up no matter what.
Question number 3. What is the first step in making a movie?
There are a lot of first steps, but it starts off with figuring out exactly what you want to say to the world, figuring out how you want to say it, and then doing as much research and training as possible.
Question number 4. You wrote your movie, but you plan to direct and star in it. What advice would you give to a young filmmaker after taking on so many different responsibilities?
Don't do it. Don't take on so many responsibilities unless you have to, or you have really, really good reasons. Film is a collaborative art, and you can't do everything yourself, and if you try, you're creating an inferior product, usually. But you can take on a few responsibilities if you are actually trained in each individual discipline. I'm just starting out. There's nobody else that was going to do it for me. So I had to take on casting it. I have to cast it on my own. I mean, I have consultants and people that help me with that, but I do most of the legwork. Directing it, I don't know anybody that I personally, at least, that I would trust to present my script in a way that I'm proud of. I do enjoy it, and in the future, I'd like to have other people that take on some of these, like the producing side particularly. I'd like to just focus on my acting, my writing, and my directing. The most enjoyable role for me is the acting, but I haven't gotten to that yet. Each responsibility, you have to focus only on that. Focus on one thing at a time. You're raising money, don't focus on the artistic side. Just focus on raising money. When you're acting, just focus on acting. And that's very difficult, especially in the moment. But you look terrible on screen if you see you're judging yourself and you're not in the moment, you're not concentrating on your work. You have to, be able to develop that skill where you can just focus on one thing at a time.
Question number 5. Once your movie is made, what process will you go through to get it out to an audience?
I will submit it to film festivals all around the world. There's a few hundred of them. Film festivals are popping up everywhere that accept short films, so I'll submit to as many as possible. I will also try to get theaters to play it, mostly independent theaters, to get in a live paying audience. Community screenings as well, community centers, YMCAs, JCCs, parks maybe during the summer. iTunes, Netflix, HBO Go, Vimeo, all those platforms, those paying platforms, before you submit it to them. Get name actors into your film. Develop a really large audience and a lot of publicity. You have to basically have a very, very strong draw for a general audience who does not typically watch a short film. iTunes is different, though, because iTunes, you can put stuff on there. It's not difficult to convince them to put your work up there. Netflix and HBO Go, they have very short, very, very limited amounts of short films on there. Sort of a very niche audience. Unless your short film is absolutely phenomenal, it's difficult to get a general audience to see it because we're so used to the 2-hour studio format. And so you have to really prove yourself and market it like crazy. You got to market it like a regular Hollywood film, even though it's short.
We'd like to thank Yitzy for coming in and speaking with the class. You can get in touch with him on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. We'll link those down below. And see you next time on 5 Questions.